What's up, y'all? One Piece One Life here, and guys, oh my goodness, has it been a long time. I haven't been back in my regular recording space in 5 weeks. I've been on vacation. And as you can see with the videos that I did while I was away, yeah, safe to say, I missed my mic. But don't worry guys, I'm back. And you know what else is back? One Piece. Specifically chapter 1136. And let me just say, what a interesting way to start out the year. It's not super hype in terms of what happens in the chapter itself, but it sets up some interesting things that I think are worth talking about. So without further ado, this is gonna be One Piece chapter 1136 reviewed. But before we get into it guys, y'all know the drill. Like the video, subscribe to the channel for more One Piece content just like this every week, and share it around with all your friends who love the series. You know what we always say, let's get it going. And y'all, I don't know if you've been following up on CSY, but make sure you subscribe if you haven't. We are almost at 4K, guys. It's getting crazy. And join up the CSY Discord too while you're at it. So the chapter is called The Country That Waits the Sun, but what we have here first is actually Yamato's cover story, the continuation. Turns out there's a mysterious hidden base in Udon that seems to be run by Who's Who because it has Who's Who's big saber-toothed tiger form as a figurehead. All I'm saying is, if we're gonna continue this cover story, at least the Toby rope over in it, because honestly, it was getting real boring with all of these low-level, no-name people. But starting off the chapter proper, we have just the continuation of the feast where we left off, if you'll remember. Ja Rule, the huge giant, the oldest giant in the world, just arrived. Not this Ja Rule, this Ja Rule. So Luffy is eating the meat that the bum prince and his cook got for him, and he's like, thank you guys, this is really great. But right now he's talking to Ja Rule, and Ja Rule is just saying, yo, you know, it's very interesting that y'all made it all the way up here. Most people confuse the underworld where Loki is for actual Elbaf, and then they stay there and then leave without ever reaching it up here. Now let me just say before we continue is that one thing I think this chapter does really well is give us Straw Hat moments, at least in terms of going back to the core feeling of the crew being together. Because in past arcs, Egghead, Wano, etc., we've had like little moments for them, but here we're actually seeing like continuations of the characters that they've always been. So we got the Usopp lies continuing, because Usopp is just like, yo, so y'all know about the legendary giant Oars, right? He's 3 times the size of you guys. Yeah, well, guess who defeated him all alone? This guy right here. It seems like the giants have never left their island because they see Jinbei and they're like, wow, so your skin really is blue, implying that they've never seen Fishman before. Jinbei's just like, yeah, ha ha ha, come down to Fishman Island and I'll show you a whole lot more skin tones. Yeah, that's not racial at all. And then of course some of the giants start talking about mermaids, which gets Sanji into the conversation. Bro talking about the Mermaid Cove is like heaven itself, you have to experience it for yourself. I love the mermaids. But I would be remiss if I didn't also say, I love the giant babes just as much. And I'm just like, Sanji, you know what? I can't even fault you, because at this point, this is just your character. You're never gonna change, and I don't expect you to. But just don't be creepy, please. But to be fair, the giant ladies are giving him attention back. They're like, oh, Sanji-chan, you're so cute and silly. I'm sorry, I'll never do that again. And then the giants kind of all just look at Brook like, what's this thing? And Brook is like, oh, me? Yeah, don't worry. I have a perfect song that I made just for situations like this called, and I have to check it here, What the Heck Am I Diddy? Hey, Brook, I'm not gonna lie, with the way that the world's currently going, you don't want that as your title, gang. So then you have Zoro and Nami talking, and again, this is a dynamic I really like, where they're kind of just the overseers of everything, but they're just talking about how it's interesting how not many giants have been out to sea, with Nami even assuming most of them were pirates. And then you have Road pulling back up and he's all beat up trying to apologize. Road, get off my screen. I don't like you. And the other giants are just like, yeah, Gerd gave him a great beating, but you know, that's the least we could have done. No, I feel like there's more you could have done. Like, I don't know, thrown him in jail or put him in exile. Hell, send him down right next to Loki. Gerd herself already said that she thinks that Loki at least is a better stand-up person than this guy. But Zoro's just like, nah, don't worry about it. Nobody died. Excuse me, yes, worry about it. That's not okay. And then the way that Oda draws Zoro here, Zoro just starts aura farming. He talking about some, yeah, you're lucky that Usopp stopped me, because if not, your head was about to come off. What are you talking about? Like, everyone knows that you could have beaten him. So could Luffy, so could Sanji. I mean, low-key, all of y'all could have, but there's no reason to be saying all that. So as Gerd pulls up and is like, you know, you don't have to cut him any slack. Please use your full power. Road is just like, oh, come on, you know everybody on Elbaf shares the same dream. We're all trying to become the next sun god so we can rule the world. And now the next section we get is very interesting because it talks about how Elbaf has different perceptions of what the sun god Nika is. You have the sun god as a ruler, and some people think, of course, the sun god of liberation, which is what we knew, but other people think that it's actually the god of destruction. And Ja Rule is telling Luffy that there are these sacred texts called the Harley text, and within it, we have our history written down. Apparently, according to the Harley text, the world has already been destroyed twice before, and both times that it happened, it was because of Nika, or at least Nika had something to do with it. Which I just want to stop right here, because twice? If we can assume that Nika had something to do with it in Joy Boy's time, where Joy Boy had the same fruit Luffy did, that was maybe the second time, but that implies that there was another time even before Joy Boy's time, which may be the original Nika itself, if that's even a person. So as we see another new portrait of Nika, Ja Rule is just like, we don't know if he's gonna be the person to build us up or bring us down, but he's gonna herald in change. And all the rulers of the day have always been apprehensive of Nika's name. Luffy has a rare moment of actually remembering something where he's like, oh, Nika, that's the name that Bonnie remembered. And I'm not gonna lie, yeah, I'm surprised that he remembered that. And then Ja Rule basically just describes Luffy's Gear 5 form, and Luffy's like, oh, so that's why everybody keeps calling me the sun god and all that. Well, I bet it has nothing to do with me. Oh, Monkey Man, if only you knew. Luffy is trying to reject fate so much, it's crazy. And yet we know exactly how the story's gonna go. Brother's like, yeah, that's cool and all, but I'm not the MC. I'm actually just here to do my own thing. So Goldberg, Stanton, and the Bum Prince are like, yeah, not to defend Naruto because he's a weirdo, but he's not wrong when everybody's saying that we're trying to all become the next sun god, which is interesting because when we were first introduced to Haruden, what he said was, I'm gonna become king of the giants. Maybe at that time it's setting up for, and in so doing, I'm gonna become the sun god. So Ja Rule is just like, I think that Loki was actually trying to do the same, and that was the reason that he killed his dad. Even though everybody else is like, you can't justify what he did. He killed his father. And Luffy hears all of this and is just like, so that means he's a good guy, right? And all the giants get mad at him like, what the hell's wrong with you? And then I just want to say, who is this grandma and why is she here? Who brought the grandma here? I'm not gonna lie, now I want to hyper focus on this grandma because, I mean, she looks very, very old. Probably not as old as Ja Rule, but maybe she's like the second oldest giant that's left. And then I want to get into what could be referred to as the delinquent section. And this is where other people misconstrue things that an arc-specific character does as, oh, this is bad for this reason and this reason and this reason, and this guy's a delinquent. But all in all, it's just him expressing his freedom, and people are eventually going to turn to him. Which I only say because this entire section parallels heavily with how Odin was introduced to us. See, they talk about, yeah, he's the accursed prince. When he was born, some royal horse died. Then soon after, his mother died. Then that was also the same year that Linlin killed Yorul. Like, that has anything to do with Loki. And then he's so mischievous because he would go and become friends with all the monstrous beasts and then let them into the town. And then sometimes also light the towns on fire. And I was like, okay, until that point, like, you had me, like, you're just, like, gassing him, you know, trying to make him to be the bad guy. But if it was lighting the town's on fire, Loki, I can't defend you on that one. But what really nails it with the Odin parallel is that they say, and all of that was by the age of 10. All the things we were being told about Odin was given specific years too. So what this makes me think is that given the parallels here, we're going to be seeing essentially Odin's story, but in real time. And with that, I mean, with Odin, we saw that all those things was happening. People kept thinking of him as a delinquent, and then he eventually proved himself and became, like, you know, basically the savior. So I think we're going to get that with Loki, where there's going to be a moment where the giants are eventually going to turn to him, maybe even release him voluntarily, and then maybe him and Luffy will have to team up against probably the God's Knights, who are confirmed to be the threat. Especially because if the prevailing theory about Loki actually not being evil is true, then I think that that's a definite good way that the story could, you know, push him into that light. Then there's some King Harold gas where they're just talking about how he was the king who was trying to get people to see beyond the fact that they were just warmongering pillagers. And apparently the sword that is like lodged in Ja Rule's helmet, apparently that was Loki. And then Ja Rule tells Luffy that Loki's reign of terror ended 6 years ago when he went out to sea. He was causing problems, but then was captured and returned to us by red hair Shanks. And I know a lot of other people have been saying it too, but I think with the fact that this was exactly 6 years ago, I think this was the event that made Shanks recognized to be one of the emperors of the sea. Because if Loki was given a special bounty and was like, oh, he's so powerful, who can stop him? If Shanks was the one that actually stopped him and the government acknowledged that, they're like, okay, this guy, he's gonna be a problem. But this does make me wonder how this fits into the whole story with Banks. I mean, I guess it could have been after it, right? If Banks arrived on Elbaf, killed Herald and framed Loki, and then maybe all the giants were coming together to try to stop Loki, and he escaped to sea and was trying to like do his own thing for a bit, and then Shanks brought him back. But the other giants don't know, maybe even Loki himself doesn't know, that those were two different people. So a bit later on, we have a talk between just Zoro and Luffy, which I have to say I love. Because we have Luffy essentially trying to tell Zoro, but everything he told me, like, he seemed like a good guy, he seemed chill, and he said he knew where Shanks was. I don't think he would lie about that. Zoro's just like, you realize that everything he told you was probably a lie, and he's literally the scourge of Elbaf. All the other giants hate him. Luffy's just like, I do not care because I want to see Shanks. And Zoro's like, I understand that you do, but that doesn't mean that we can trust this guy. So a new team is formed of the people who's going to go and help Loki. Guys, the only ones going to free Loki are Luffy, Zoro, and Nami. They're going off to find the key, and I love this because this is the original trio. This trio is the dynamic that Oda falls back on the most out of all Straw Hat dynamics. People might even say that they're the core of the crew, because it's really the three of them consolidating together in Orange Town when a crew was like truly a unit. And of course people will say like the core is the East Blue 5, which we saw earlier in the arc, going back to that time was very good. And then you add in Chopper and you have the Vivi crew, the crew that knew Vivi while she was there. But going back to the main three, that means something. Every time that this trio is together, something crazy happens. Because just remember that the last time we saw this trio together, we were introduced to Blackbeard and had one of the craziest panels that may turn out to be true when Zoro says, nah, it's not one, there's multiple of them. So keep your eyes on this group. So they've got Road with them, who's guiding them there. He's apparently now Nami's third favorite slave after Sanji and Zeus. I don't know why we have slave rankings, that's not okay. And then of course we just have regular Nami shenanigans, because as they approach the castle, Nami's like, you think that we can steal some money? But then we get the last section of the chapter, and I think that this is where things get very interesting. Essentially what we have is the two Gods Knights, which by the way in this chapter, they are indeed confirmed to be the Gods Knights, which means I can cross it off of my Elbaf bingo. The Gods Knights pull up and are actually extending an invitation to Loki, like, yo, you can literally join up with us. We will make you a celestial dragon. And Loki's like, interesting offer. I get out of here, huh? But wouldn't that make you a celestial dragon? Now, why, pray tell, would I ever want to become scum like that? The moment Loki said that, it solidified without a shadow of a doubt that he is not a bad guy. So we have Banks, who's just like, do we have any intel? And the girl who we're about to be introduced to says that apparently all the teams that they've sent to report on Elbaf all report seeing a giant crow coming before that's the last they hear of them. And as we see the female knight's full appearance, she's introduced as Gunko. Guys, this is important. This is our first ever official God's Knight introduction that isn't Garland, because he doesn't really count. And I just want to ask, Oda, is everything all right, buddy? Like, I get that you've been working a lot. Maybe you just need to go back and see your wife and see your kids, see your family, please. Like, why she ain't got no pants on? Who co-signed this? Like, I'm just confused. No way that they were in the drawing room or whatever cooking this design up and it was like, how can I add some spice to her character? Oh, I know. I'm gonna have her pull up in the Sabo hat, the two-tone eye color, and panties. Cause I'm like, Oda, you've been going really well with your female designs this arc. I mean, you gave us Gerd, and then you gave us the meal that was Ripley. But this, I don't know about this one. I guess it just goes to confirm what was said in SBS a while back during the Egghead arc, where somebody was essentially just saying, Oda, you really like to draw panties, man. And he's just like, yeah, I do. That's why Robin's outfit is like that. That's why Nami's outfit is like that. That's why Bonnie's outfit is like that. And the last one is actually very problematic the more you think about it. At least since it was revealed what her actual age is. But you know, that's Japan. They got their own thing going on. My job is to just tell it to you. But anyway, as Gunko's revealed, Banks is just like, Gunko, don't be hasty. And one of the big wolves that Loki befriended pulls up. Gunko ties that wolf up real quick with her bandage power, arrow power, I'm not really sure. It is interesting to note that her arrow looks like just a white version of Emo's black arrow. But all she does is a flick of her wrist and the bandage ties all around the wolf and basically kills it. Banks is like, if we spare your friend, will you come with us? And Loki's just like, listen, I know he's my friend, but as his friend, I gotta give him a proper warrior death, and I can't cry because he went out like a warrior. It's okay to grieve and rage, but a warrior never kicks and screams in the face of death. That's a bar. Final panel of the chapter, Loki cold as hell talking about, listen, once I get out of these chains, yeah, everybody's gonna get it, and ain't shit about to be sweet. End of the chapter, no break next week. Like I said, very interesting chapter with a lot of things going on, but I just can't believe this Gunko plot. Cause like, you just gotta think about what happened in Marijoa for this to occur. You're telling me Gunko woke up, chose this fit, and reported to work like that. She went into the room of authority and was like, Gunko reporting for duty, sir. And all the Gorosei looked at her like that. And she was like, yes, sir. Is there a problem? And then all of them was like, oh, no. Very nice, in fact. And anyways, here's your mission. You know what? There it is. The new agenda. The Gorosei are freaks confirmed. But I want to hear what you guys have to say about this chapter, y'all. So let me know all you think and more in the comments below. That's the end of the video, y'all. But please, before we go, like it, subscribe to the page, and share it around with all your friends who love the series, or anime and manga in general. You know what I always say. I'm trying to build a community, but I need your help to do it. Well, that's going to be all for me. I'll catch you on the next one. And always remember, one piece, one life. Now, if you'll excuse me, I literally got back to campus an hour ago. I need to unpack.